Good morning, everybody. Maybe you've seen this picture of these two dubious looking characters here, though one in a green hornet mask sipping a drink through a straw, and another guy there with a shaved head and a big bow tie. Well, those two gentlemen are S. Jason Black. He wasn't called S. Jason Black at the time. That was David P. Wilson. And it was me with my head shaved, attending one of the infamous parties thrown by Doug and Karen James of 93 Lodge, OTO, down in Capistrano Beach many years ago. It was a heroes or villains party. So David dressed up as the hero, the Green Hornet, and I dressed up as the hero and villain, Aleister Crowley. So, and this picture is included in the book My Life with the Spirits. Now, it may appear to you that I'm overdressed this morning. I'm not. It is cold. It is very cold, and I've just returned from a walk where I picked up some hot coffee, hoping to warm up for today's talk. And today's talk is about David P. Wilson and S. Jason Black. David is no longer with us. He died a few years back. And his death is, we still haven't forgiven him for dying. We loved him dearly. He was one in a billion characters, and in his own way, a luminary in modern occultism. First of all, he was the greatest, most talented scryer I've ever encountered, which came in very handy for a number of years at our lodge. I'm going to read an excerpt from My Life with the Spirits concerning our first kind of formal Enochian magic session, where David was the scryer. I itemize what happened because it was a pretty notable event at the time it happened, and we made a pretty clear record of what went on, because it would change the focus of our lodge Monday night class or weekly class for a number of years. The next 3 years, actually, were focused on Enochian magic. And for 2 of those years, it was, or for 3 of those years, it was 2 nights a week that we met. So if my bundled up costume doesn't distract you this morning, I'll try not to let it distract me. Anyway, I'm not going to read the whole chapter, but just a little section of it. It was very early in our magical class series. My presumed duties as a lodge master of OTO dictated to me, at least, that I should have a weekly magic class. And to tell you the truth, I was so green myself in 1978 that it was hard to stay one jump ahead of the class. I was learning this stuff just as fast as I was trying to teach it. Okay. And after a while, it became clear that I was going to have to come up with something new and exciting and sexy. all I was doing was taking stuff out of the gems of the equinox there. See, I've got a couple back there. You see where my finger is? There's a couple of gems of the equinox. And so I was teaching pentagram ritual, hexagram rituals, and greater hexagrams and greater pentagram. And pretty soon I needed to come up with new material myself. In order to teach more stuff, I had to learn more stuff. So I got out the gems from the equinox and ran across the Enochian material, and I figured, well, gee, this could take up a couple of weeks. And so it became pretty clear after a very short time that this was something I was going to have to learn together with the class. So we turned it into an Enochian workshop, and we waded through the material as best we could. Let's see here. The more I learned about the Enochian system, the more thrilled I became at its divine perfection. The laws that dictate the ordering of the elements and the organizations of the squares are examples of Hermetic logic at its most sublime. The class was enthralled. Most members set to work painting their own set of tablets. And at this time, let's just keep in mind that the class was, I sort of fluctuated between like 9 people and like 15 people, okay, in my living room, or in Constance's living room that I'm allowed to share. Please remember, this has always been a team effort between Constance and myself. People wouldn't dare come to my house. They'd feel very uncomfortable, but Constance puts people at ease, serves us all tea, and she heckles me ruthlessly. Class was enthralled. Most members set to work painting their own set of tablets. As complex as the process appears to be at first, the simple act of coloring the tablets makes the method to the madness easy to understand. In the meantime, I was determined to build a full set of 3-dimensional Enochian tablets, and I've shown it to you on many occasions here. Up until this time, Enochian magicians simply drew the pyramids on a flat surface. I mentioned my plan to Dr. Rigarde, who counseled strongly against it. Quote, "They're dangerous enough when they're flat," he said. He cautioned. "Don't give them dimensional elbow room," unquote. As much as I respected the good doctor, I really didn't see how it could hurt to fully manifest the tablets in 3D. In fact, I thought maybe the reason Rigarde's Enochian spirits were so crabby was because that he had them all squished up into those flat tablets. I commissioned Kurt, that's one of our lodge members, who is very, very talented woodworker, an inlay artist, mother of pearl and abalone. What a great artist. I commissioned Kurt, who owned a table saw, to cut 644 wooden truncated pyramids with 1-inch bases. I bought sandpaper, sealant, and acrylic paints. As soon as the pyramids were cut, I went to work like a man possessed. I got up early in the morning to sand, seal, and paint. I became totally engrossed in the project. Time lost all meaning to me. Each morning I found myself arriving at my job later than the morning before. The tablets were all I could think about. Each day I stole away from work a little. I had a 9-to-5 job. Okay. Each day I stole away from work a little earlier so I could get home to sand, seal, and paint. Soon I was sanding and sealing and painting all day long because I no longer had a job to distract me. I wish I could say I was exaggerating. As usual, my digressions took over the main focus of my endeavors. Okay, I didn't care. The tablets were indescribably beautiful. I was so proud. I finished the small tablet of union first, then the elemental tablet of earth. I couldn't wait until the other tablets were finished. I was determined that we would try out the earth tablet at the next class. Up until this point, my only experience with spirit evocation had been of the Goetic Solomonic variety. I did not have a clue what to expect from an Enochian working, and I was particularly unsure how to proceed in a group setting. Mercifully, there was no ambiguity about the technical procedures. Temple openings, Enochian calls, and the angelic hierarchies were all quite clearly set forth in Liber Hanoch, which I found right out of that Gems of the Equinox. I performed a series of experimental evocations, a cherub from each of the 4 tablets, before retiring on 4 consecutive nights. I made note of my dreams and concluded that this kind of work was harmless and effective. For our first evocation session, I decided we would work as Dee and Kelly did. One person would act as a seer and one act as the operator. The seer would recite the appropriate call, receive the vision, and communicate it during or after the session. The operator would banish, open, and close the temple and question the seer and the spirit. I would be the operator, but I did not know who in our little class would be the first to sit in the visionary driver's seat. On class night, there was only one rather reluctant volunteer, David P. Wilson. He was not new to the world of magic. In the years leading up to his affiliation with our lodge, he sat in with a host of other magical groups and workshops in the Los Angeles area, upon whom he later heaped scorn and ridicule because of their inability to show him real magic. He had this voice, okay? He had a dramatic, serious voice. And he was so dramatic. And he was also a master at ridicule. And he was an elegant curmudgeon. Okay, if that makes any sense, but I digress. He ridiculed the other groups because they couldn't show him real magic. He was the boldest member of the class, also the most impatient and sarcastic. I could see the Enochian class going down in flames on opening night because David, the curmudgeon, once again saw nothing. He had done none of the preliminary Enochian work with the rest of the class. He hadn't painted a set of tablets or studied any of the calls. Still, he was our only volunteer. I don't recall why, but I decided we would try to contact Laidrom, that's spelled Laidrom, the Mars senior of the elemental tablet of Earth. Okay, each of the elemental tablets are separated into 4 quarters by a cross of a column of 2 vertical lines down the center and 1 horizontal line running down the center. And the names of the 7 planetary seniors radiate out from the center to the 6 dimensions there, and the solar senior is a whirl right in the center. In the spirit of better safe than sorry, we place the Earth tablet in the south, Capricorn, cardinal Earth, and enclose the entire circle class in a circle cast with a clothesline cord. Well, I didn't know. I banished with the rituals of the lesser and greater pentagrams and hexagrams, then opened the temple and invoked the hierarchical names as indicated in Liber Hanoch. David was seated on the floor at the southern edge of the circle, just inches away from the earth tablet. Leaning against the wall behind the tablet was a huge cardboard version of the tablet of earth that I placed there for the other members of the class to focus upon. Sort of like when you watch people in a chess tournament. Okay, you might be in an amphitheater watching the chess players, but there's a big board behind them that is a projection of the board, and the chess pieces and men are moved with every move so that the audience can see what's going on. But we had a big elemental tablet of earth that I spent far too much time making, so everybody could clearly see where Laidrom lived on the elemental tablet of earth. Okay. I turned on the tape recorder and gave David a copy of the call to read. I sat down behind him while he read it aloud. He did rather well considering he had never read it before. When he was finished, he closed his eyes and took a deep breath. Nothing happened. I asked him to read the call again. He did so, and after only a few seconds, he says, "I have a landscape. I see a landscape." I was relieved beyond words. What does it look like? David proceeded to describe in surprising detail a desert vista of flat, trackless, white crystalline powder stretching to the horizon. Great gray columns of volcanic rock towering over the plain broke the monotony of the scene. Between the columns, the ground was pockmarked with countless gaping pits. Now remember, this is supposed to be the elemental tablet of earth. And the particular spirit we're going for, is the Mars Senior. So Earth is the overriding environment, and that aspect of Earth that is martial in nature is the facet of Earth that the angel represents. But I digress. That was it. Nothing else was occurring. I asked him to read the call a third time. This time there was movement. From out of the pit in the center of his field of vision arose a black cone. He said it sparkled from inside, and upon its surface with thousands of little sparks that jumped from one star to another. I asked, "Is this Laidrom?" David grabbed his pencil and notebook and quickly scribbled something. I looked at what he had drawn. It looked like 4 very poorly drawn Enochian letters. At the time, it meant nothing to me. I asked for a clearer answer. Is this Laidrom? It's him. It's him. I see him. He described a humanoid figure draped in the same material from which the cone was constructed. He had an egg-shaped head, but no face. His hands were like mittens. There were no fingers. He reached out his arm toward the ground and drew a diagram in the sand in front of him. David quickly copied the figure on a notepad. It was a square divided diagonally by 2 lines. with a small circle in the lower left-hand corner. We took this to be Laidrom's signature. We were all very excited. It was if the entire class saw David's vision in our mind's eye. Then it occurred to me, now that we've got this guy, what the hell do we do with him? Before I could think of what to do next, David said, Lon, I feel I could make strange sounds. This was a twist. Let yourself, I told him. Go with it. I tried to sound calm. Naenta hola, hoa athezo regave. And then he stopped and said, this is bullshit. And I said, no, relax. Let it happen. Then he said, I mean it. I feel like an idiot. I'm too okay. I'm sorry, that's all. Nothing like this has ever happened before. I just felt like doing it. David's apology was comical. We all broke into nervous giggles. And if you knew David's dry personality, you would all be impressed by how rattled he was about all of this. It had been quite an evening. As we planned nothing in particular to do with Laidrom, I thought it wise to quit while we were ahead. I asked David to thank our spirit guest for his visit and proceed to banish and close the temple. Okay. This is what a clod I am as a magician. Okay, we went to all of this work. I don't know, 3-4 weeks of class just to get to this point. Making all of that equipment, doing those boards, doing all of that to whip up this spirit. And then once we get the spirit, I go, what the? I was prepared for everything but success. God, I didn't expect this. I thought this was magic. I didn't expect it to work. And that was pretty much the state I was in. One of the class members brought along his Enochian dictionary. Okay, it's the complete Enochian dictionary by Donald C. Laycock. His 1978 edition. It was brand new, hardbound edition with beautiful gold stuff on it. And Laycock was not a magician. Laycock was a linguist. He was just blown away that two characters in the late 1500s could literally invent a language. Okay, so. But we just happened to have an Enochian dictionary, still the finest one available, at class. So it was suggested we try to use it to see if David's strange babblings actually meant something. I rewound the tape and played it back from the beginning. Everything was crystal clear right up to the time of Laidrom's appearance, when the tape developed an irritating distortion, almost like white noise in the background. We joked it was the fault of malicious spirits and expected it to soon clear up. It did not. In fact, by the time the tape reached David's babbling, we could hardly pick his voice out from behind the bank of white noise. As soon as the good stuff was over, the distortion suddenly stopped. Noise notwithstanding, after replaying the sections of the tape a dozen times or more, we picked up enough of what was being said to write down 3 audible strips of syllables. Non tahilo hoa athezo regeef zilzi anzilzi lo darp Nanta. And then there was a little scrape part that was inaudible that we really couldn't get. And it ended up Epitharzi. And in the book, I've got it printed out kind of phonetically like that. Starting at the beginning, we painstakingly played with the phonetics of each word and the word following. You know, because when you speak, you connect the last syllable of one word with the, often with the next syllable of the one that follows. As you don't say, don't worry at all, you go, don't worry at all. Okay. Sorry for that digression. And we attempted to match them with words in the Enochian dictionary. Obviously, we weren't being very scientific, nor, I confess, very objective. This was all very exciting and romantic, and I'm sure that night we would have squeezed some profundity out of any string of sounds. But, be that as it may, it took less than an hour to break the sounds up as follows. Nanta Elohoath Zorgiev, which neatly translated to Spirit of Earth, First Worshipper, Friendly Visit. Zilzien, Stretch Forth Hands. Zilodarp Nanta, Stretch Forth and Conquer, Spirit of Earth. Itharzi, Visit in Peace. Needless to say, we were all very impressed. At the end of the evening, it was agreed that from then on, class would meet 2 times a week to pursue Enochian magic. Sadly, David's ability to break spontaneously into the Enochian language would diminish rapidly as his familiarity with the language of the calls increased. After the 4th or 5th session, he lost the ability completely. His visions, on the other hand, became clearer, more informative, and more provocative. So, that's my little discussion of our dear departed friend David P. Wilson, who later wrote under the pen name S. Jason Black. I have to add that he was also a very talented artist. He did the images for our Aleister Crowley's illustrated Goetia, and as curious as you may think that those images are, rest assured that David, over a period of his magical career, had evoked every one of those little devils, and at least he was drawing from experience. Later on, we would discover that the master archangel of archangels, EHNB, off of the Tablet of Union, was particularly talented in generating visions of previous incarnations. And once we discovered the talent of EHNB, we focused on him for many months in a row, because everybody, it seemed, wanted a peek at previous incarnations. But anyway, that's it for today. I thought this was going to go less than a half an hour today, because I don't mean to keep you from your busy week. But anyway, that's it for today. Continue to be good to yourself and be good to each other. Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. Love is the law. Love under will. Bye-bye.